book review or discussion on this book as we listen to this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. As you know, he's a Japanese American, and it's one of the very rare kind of a book's been written on financial or personal finance or financial education. So let's discuss, and let me just start the audio with, yeah.
Logging in how many kids showed up each day, who they were, and any comments they might have. Mike and I averaged $9.50 per week over a 3-month period. We paid his sister $1 a week and allowed her to read the comics for free, which she rarely did since she was always studying. Mike and I kept our agreement by working in the store every Saturday and collecting all the comic books from the different stores. We kept our agreement to the distributor by not selling any comic books. We burned them once they got too tattered. We tried opening a branch office, but we could never quite find someone as dedicated as Mike's sister we could trust. At an early age, we found out how hard it was to find good staff. 3 months after the library first opened, a fight broke out in the room. Some bullies from another neighborhood pushed their way in and started it. Mike's dad suggested we shut down the business. So our comic book business was shut down and we stopped working on Saturdays at the convenience store. Anyway,
So this is the end of their second business. If you remember the first business they started, both of them was coin. That means with the trying to melt the copper coin, I think copper or lead coin, and not, I mean, they were making coins, not melting the coins, but making coins out of molten toothpaste tubes. Okay. And then they started this business of the comic books. So that means they were not selling, but they were just hiring. That means giving those comic books on hire, and kids were coming and reading those books, and they were making some money. But that business also stopped. So yeah, let's proceed further.
Rich Dad was excited because he had new things he wanted to teach us. He was happy because we'd learned our first lesson so well. We'd learned to have money work for us. By not getting paid for our work at the store, we were forced to use our imaginations to identify an opportunity to make money. By starting our own business, the comic book library, we were in control of our own finances, not dependent on an employer.
That is super powerful. So that means they learned how to make money work for them, and that's just it came out of an idea. Okay. And that's how you become independent. So I think all of us should start thinking about what can we do to make so that the income what we generate is not dependent on the efforts we put in, but we only know about the money coming from the effort, that means selling our hours, but we don't know the other side of it, where there are people who are making money in many different ways. And this was one amongst them about comic book library. um so his sister was there helping out, or where their kids were coming and reading, and they were paying them money. So it's just a matter of an idea, but as long as we think outside the box, this will happen.
The best part was that our business generated money for us, even when we weren't physically there.
That's
Our
fair.
money worked for us. Instead of paying us money, Rich Dad had given us so much more. Lesson 2, why teach financial literacy? In 1990, my best friend Mike took over his father's empire and is in fact doing a better job than his dad did. We see each other once or twice a year on the golf course. He and his wife are wealthier than you could imagine. Rich Dad's empire is in great hands, and Mike is now grooming his son to take his place, as his dad groomed us. In 1994, I retired at the age of 47, and my wife Kim was 37. Retirement does not mean not working. To my wife and me, it means that, barring unforeseen cataclysmic changes, we can work or not work, and our wealth grows automatically, staying way ahead of inflation.
That's super powerful, isn't it? Retiring doesn't mean you don't do anything. That means you are just making sure that your money is working for you, and you are creating that income. So that's powerful.
I guess it means freedom. The assets are large enough to grow by themselves. It's like planting a tree. You water it for years, and then one day it doesn't need you anymore. Its roots have gone down deep enough. Then the tree provides shade for your enjoyment. Mike chose to run the empire, and I chose to retire. Whenever I speak to groups of people, they often ask what I would recommend, or what could they do? How do they get started? Is there a good book I'd recommend? What is the secret to success? I simply say to them what my rich dad said back to me when I was a little kid. If you want to be rich, you need to be financially literate. That idea was drummed into my head every time we were together. As I said, my educated dad stressed the importance of reading books, while my rich dad stressed the need to master financial literacy. If you're going to build the Empire State Building, the first thing you need to do is dig a deep hole and pour a strong foundation. If you're going to build a home in the suburbs, all you need to do is pour a 6-inch slab of concrete. Most people, in their drive to get rich, are trying to build an Empire State Building on a 6-inch slab. Our school system, having been created in the agrarian age, believes in homes with no foundation dirt floors are still the rage. So kids graduate from school with virtually no financial foundation. One day, sleepless and deep in debt in suburbia, living the American dream, they decide that the answer to their financial problems is to find a way to get rich quick. Construction on the skyscraper begins. It goes up quickly, and soon, instead of the Empire State Building, we have the Leaning Tower of suburbia. The sleepless nights return. As for Mike and me in our adult years, both of our choices were possible because we were taught to pour a strong financial foundation when we were just kids. Now, accounting is possibly the most boring subject in the world. It also could be the most confusing. But if you want to be rich, long term, it could be the most important subject. The question is, how do you take a boring and confusing subject and teach it to kids? The answer is, make it simple. My rich dad poured a strong financial foundation for Mike and me. Since we were just kids, he created a simple way to teach us. For years, he only drew pictures and used words. Mike and I understood the simple drawings, the jargon, the movement of money. And then in later years, Rich Dad began adding numbers. Most importantly, you must know the difference between an asset and a liability, and buy assets.
That's powerful. It is now talking about sorry. Yeah. So he's now talking about accounting and assets and liability, and so that is super powerful because my background is also accounting, but what you are going to listen and learn from him, that is mind blowing.
If you want to be rich, this is all you need to know. It is rule number 1. It is the only rule.
So you have to build assets. That is how you can be rich.
This may sound absurdly simple, but most people have no idea how profound this rule is. Most people struggle financially because they do not know the difference between an asset and a liability. Rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities, but they think they are assets.
Wow, that's super powerful. So that is the difference between rich and poor. So they acquire assets. Rich people do acquire assets, and poor and middle class acquire the liabilities. But they think that's an asset.
When Rich Dad explained this to Mike and me, we thought he was kidding. Here we were nearly teenagers and waiting for the secret to get rich, and this was his answer. It was so simple that we had to stop for a long time to think about it. If it's that simple, how come everyone's not rich? I asked. Rich Dad smiled. because people do not know the difference between an asset and a liability. I remember asking, how can adults be so silly? If it's that simple, if it's that important, why would everyone not want to find out? It took our rich dad only a few minutes to explain what assets and liabilities were. To teach preteen boys, Rich Dad kept everything simple, using as many pictures as possible, as few words as possible, and no numbers for years. My rich dad simply drew a vertical box with a line through the middle. The top half was for income, and the bottom half was for expenses. Then beneath that box, he drew another box horizontally, which he divided into a left half for assets and a right half for liabilities. The income statement, often called a profit and loss statement, measures income and expenses, money in or money out. The second set of boxes is the balance sheet. It's called that because it's supposed to balance assets against liabilities.
Wow. So incomes and expenditure and assets and liabilities. So that's what he is explaining. So those of you who have a background in accounting, probably you are also already familiar with this. All right. Okay, guys. So we'll finish it here. We will again continue with this book. Hope we